Welcome back to the Tribute Games podcast. Tribute Games is an independent game studio in Montreal, and this podcast is pretty much being there with us and hearing about what's happening in the studio. It's your ticket to see how the sausage is made, how the video game sausage is made. It's a two-hander this week, or more, a four-hander, because there's two of us.
It's a tag team.
It's a tag team, yes. Like Titus Kidd and Cesaro tonight at Extreme Rules. We are a tag team, and here you're hearing Yannick Belzil, who is myself, who is a writer and social media person here at Tribute, and in front of me, my tag team partner is
your axe to your smash.
Yes,
Justin Sear, game designer and animation.
But there will be no demolition here, only building up and giving you.
We're just going to be destroying the boundaries of podcasting.
Yes, and you know what? Destroying ignorance about what goes on in these studios here in Montreal.
That's what we're about.
Yes, building knowledge, destroying ignorance. Tribute Games.
Is that our new slug line?
I think it should be now. I think it should. We should just make edutainment games that are all just on the border of being mildly fun and filled with facts. Like Mario is missing. We all remember. You know, even as a kid, you can tell that there's something off-brand about Mario is missing. Like this new Mario game. But even then, that title should tip you off. Mario is missing. The fun is missing as well.
Yeah, it's funny how even as a young kid, you can tell about brand recognition, and something's kind of off with this one.
This is a GoBot. This is not a Transformer.
To be fair, did either of us even play that game?
I have faint memories of a friend having rented it. Like, I felt like I knew better.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine didn't and rented maybe he's at the Eiffel Tower, and then you get facts about the Eiffel Tower.
But maybe it's just one of those things that keeps getting passed off as being a crappy game. Maybe if we actually play it, we'll find out this is a real hidden gem.
Yeah, maybe Mario's Missing is due for a revisit. Well, that's the end of our Mario's Missing missive segment. I would love to go into a more appropriate segment, which is about Curses and Chaos, Justin, which is partly your child.
Yes.
So we haven't done an episode in a couple of weeks ever since we came back from PAX. So we've been busy, and some people have told us they were missing the show. We are extremely glad about that, and we'll try to do better in the future for scheduling and recording more episodes. But the upside of this is that more stuff has happened, so maybe there's more stuff to talk about this week.
Exactly.
So what's been happening in the last month for Curses and Chaos, Justin?
Okay, so since we got back, basically just trying to wrap it up.
Yeah, but let's say that this is the first episode of Some people will listen to this for the first time. So what can you tell us about Curses and Chaos, your game, and what's been happening?
Okay, right. Yeah, so to sum it up, it's basically just like a single screen two-player arcade brawler. It's just waves and waves of enemies that come at you, and you do your best to survive. So that's I best describe that game. To say where we are with the progress.
It was once made as it was meant to be like a very small game, but
yeah,
it was coming out after Mercenary Kings. That there was a decision to try to beef it up and add a little more to it, like a little more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, honestly, this was gonna be our second game after Wizorb. Mm-hmm. When we finished Wizorb, things were actually looking pretty grim for the studio, and it wasn't looking like we were even maybe gonna release another game. So we tried to do something very, very quick, and this was to be on XNA Live Indie Arcade, and it's since grown quite a bit, because even that doesn't even exist anymore. Like, it was originally coded in XNA, and then we coded it with Mono Games, and now we're rehauling the engine yet once more. So it's really gone through a lot of changes, and yes, it has been beefed up. We originally were just going to have like a little 5-level thing, and the number of levels has even doubled. And then we got cool people on like Steph and Paul, who were never intended to work on the game, but they were gracious enough to lend their skill to it. So yeah, that's how the game grew. And of course, with the high standard that Mercenary Kings set, we had to do something that was going to be a little bit beefier than our original scope. So that's probably been the biggest challenge of the game, is trying to keep it still small, but grow it without letting it grow out of control. I would say that's definitely been the biggest challenge of the game.
Cool. And what's been happening in the last month? Because you're saying that now you're pretty close to the end or at the end of the project?
Yeah, like now it's just closing it. It's finishing every task, so it's like no more content and just polishing everything. So we finished in the last month all the enemies, we finished all the background animations, we finished all the levels, and now it's just tweaking and polishing and a lot of balancing too, because the game, the one thing that we did walk away from with the show is that the game is still brutally hard, which is also what we wanted to do, because it being a smaller game, you wanted to give something that would give players a bit of challenge, because if it's only like an hour or two, and it's not, it's about, I'd say about 4 or 5 hours, but you wouldn't want something players could just whip through. So it is going to remain a challenging game, but to find that sweet spot of challenging but not frustrating is one of the biggest challenges of the game itself. Finished our animation backgrounds. Yeah, I'm just repeating myself now. So that's where we're at.
So someone might be curious, like, what does that entail, polishing it and changing it? Like, how do you make a game less hard? Like, what are you tweaking right now?
Oh, you can do it in a number of ways. Like, I think the enemy collisions, that's like, oh, this gets really technical fast.
I feel like we have a small listenership that will love some of that technical stuff.
All right.
So please go for it.
So, I guess, again, maybe some of the things that players still find a little bit unfair is enemies seem to be able to hit you a little bit sooner than you'd expect. So like just going in and like shrinking their collision boxes, because when you attack, you're actually like throwing out projectiles. So technically you should never be like melee attacking an enemy, even though it's like a brawler game. But just shrinking their hitboxes makes it so that you can hit the enemies before they have a chance to hit you. Tweaking values, like bringing down their HP, bringing up some of your damage, shrinking animation delays by even fractions of a second. Like, it's amazing how if you go in and just shave like 0.01 frames or 0.01 seconds of animation per frame on an attack, it makes all the world of difference.
What does that change in an animation? So is it, because something that happens when your character gets hit, if the character hits the floor, like he jumps back and he flicks back. So Is it just the character gets up faster?
Exactly. Yeah. So like even with the basic attacks, there was something like 0.04 seconds of delay before the attack actually happens. And this gets pretty animation nerdy, but like every animation, you don't go straight into a move. You always have a bit of an anticipation before the actual action.
Yeah, I wind up before the punch.
Bingo. So by just shrinking it from like 0.04 to 0.02, being it's the main action that you do, you can actually, you're actually twice as fast. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but just these small subtle changes makes a huge impact throughout the game.
Yeah, so that's just those kinds of tweaks could just connect the player way more to their character as they play, and which is what you want.
Absolutely, yeah. So you want to find that sweet spot of everything feeling super responsive and without breaking it too, because you can always have that danger of just tweaking it too much and then it's just like a cakewalk. So it's fun though. Like that's amazing, and it's probably one of the more satisfying parts of the job too, when you just go in and fine tune everything. But there's always, like every production too, there's always a lot of surprises that come. I can't even think of ones that we were working on last week. Yeah, Steph went in and changed our HUD. Like that's the heads-up display, like all your interface for the game. So something that we were never planning on doing.
How are those changes like?
They were really small, but it's still a thing where you have to kind of put a day aside and add them and stuff. And it did make the game, it always makes the game better too. And that's probably one of the biggest things about any game production. It's always, what can we add without it being too much time for everybody to implement? So, and everyone takes things to heart and everyone wants the best. So it's always gauging those things and saying like, well, we can do this and we can't do that. And even in his suggestions, we couldn't do all of them, but the ones we did made it a bit more readable and clearer too. So it was fun.
So yeah, the thing about the HUD, like maybe some people would be surprised that this late in the game, like it has to be changed. But the thing is, when we're all working on the game, it's such a forest for the trees situation. We're so used to everything that's in it. Sometimes we might not realize that that thing is not that clear. The energy gauge is not that clear and stuff like that. So sometimes you just discover new stuff like that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a whim too, where suggestions are just different but not better. And in this case, we kind of just thought, well, for as subtle as the suggestion was, it's worth at least giving it a shot. So I'm probably a little bit more too eager to want to do suggestions when they're possible, but knowing where to kind of put your foot down is something that I think it's a learned skill. I have to hope.
Yeah, like you have to, it's being a manager, as you're going to be a manager as well. So
yeah, does it mean I have to put on a tie?
Yes, but you can still wear a t-shirt though. You can wear the tie every way you like because you're a manager, but you still have to wear the tie because it denotes power.
Sold.
Is there anything else about curses that you can tell us or that has been happening recently? And
oh yeah, in the last couple of weeks we did do some fun promotion. We went to Miss Your Net, you and I did.
Yes, we went to, if you are one of our Francophones listeners, you might know Miss Your Net being like, it's this big a podcast slash radio web show. It's not even on Twitch, hosted by Denis Talbot, who's like a really nice guy, and a titan, a monolith,
a fixture
of tech talk and tech journalism and tech / entertainment journalism here in Quebec. Like he's been for years and years, and it was really fun to go on this show and talk about curses and talk about going to PAX and stuff like that. So
yep,
good times.
And we actually went all the way out into, again, for Montrealers, out to Longueuil.
Deep Longueuil. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. Yeah. I was quite jealous of his setup too. Like we're just starting our podcast, but when you looked at his, it was like, man, yeah, it was someday.
It was a media nest that he had, like with filled with stuff.
Yep.
So that was a lot of fun. So doing some of that PR stuff is a lot of fun. I like it. So I hope I get to do more for Curses when it comes out. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Can you see,
of course, yeah.
Curses, finish up?
Oh yeah, that's, I mean, it's really gone, over all time budgets that we ever planned. Again, going with the theme that it was always meant to just be a smaller game. That's been the constant struggle, is just knowing how to grow it without it going out of hand. But, it's definitely, I mean, we've been saying that now for like the last couple of months, but it's still true. It's still just about ready to be done. But I think one last pass of, tweaking and balancing once the last of, the content has been finally polished, will be ready to go. And then we also have to submit to Sony and stuff and go through all our TRCs. Regular development stuff. So yeah, it's fun, but it is a slog. I mean, at some point, every job becomes monotony, no matter how great. So it's finding that motivation that's always the trickiest. But yeah.
Yeah, and at home, if you heard the term TRC, you don't know what that is a technical requirement compliance. And it's something that you get sent like a Bible by a software company like Sony, or in another case it would be Nintendo or Microsoft. They are technical requirements that if you don't meet them, the game simply does not get published unless they specially waive it for you. And sometimes not complying to these requirements can cost you a lot of money. So before sending those, it's really important to make sure all of that is on the up and up. And that's why you hire QA people, as they do the thankless work of making sure that all of that is above board. Aside of that, what has been up? We recently learned a bit of a story. Is recently there was a fire in our building, and so we left like for an afternoon, and we did not worry about it at all. And what happened is what we discovered a couple of weeks later, or this week, is that when there was a fire. The alarms sounded in the whole building. We left for an afternoon. There was a fire on the 9th floor, but there was something particular about that fire on the 9th floor. And Justin, do you know what that is?
It was a meth lab.
Yeah. So Tribute Games is settled in a pretty nice Montreal neighborhood.
Yep.
A lot of art in it. It's an arty neighborhood.
It's a hipster haven.
Yeah, it's a hipster haven. And some people, so you'd imagine that everyone's nice between these walls, but we discovered that we had upstairs neighbors that were cooking meth, and when it caught fire, they had to throw all of their stuff through the window, and they've absconded with the last of their product and apparently maybe some firearms.
I mean, I remember that day because me and John went on break. Around 3:00, and then as we come back, we hear the fire alarm. We're like, "Oh, okay, routine fire alarm." Kind of smells like smoke. What's going on? We look out the window, up on the 9th floor, we see smoke pouring out. We're like, "Oh wow, this really is a fire." Everyone get out fine. We find out later, meth fire.
Meth fire,
the worst kind.
Yes, exactly. But when that happened, Stefan and Dom and I went to one of the neighborhood bars called Bishop and Bags, and we did some brainstorming for Space Pirates. So not all is lost. Well, most of what is lost is the meth.
Just the meth, yeah.
Yeah, that Meth Empire's lab location. But so what?
You know what, though? Earlier in the year, on our floor, because we're on the 5th floor, someone got busted for, like, growing marijuana. Mm-hmm. It always smelt of pot for a while, and then, yeah, they got busted. So that's 2 drug busts in our building in the year.
One gentler than the other. So yeah, that's the glamour of indie game development. Sometimes you just don't know what kind of building you end up in. But as far as I know, it's safe. I mean, except for the fires, but whatever. So what else have we been up to? Given I'm the only one at this table representing Team Space Pirate, as I've mentioned before, which is our upcoming game after Curses and Chaos. We've been working on this a lot in the last month. It's been going really well because now Steph, who's our concept artist and our background artist and
all-round art wizard.
Yes, he's really good. Now he's done with Curses and Chaos. He drew all of the endings and the openings as well. He had to like sort of code the endings as well to do the animation stuff like that.
It's just integration.
Integration that seemed to be really long. Anyways, now that he's done with that, he has opt on Project Space Pirate and has started to draw up creatures and other designs for bad guys and background stuff and stuff like that. And it's really cool. We finally feel like the project was already moving because Johan's working on it and Andy's working on it and Dom's working on it. But now I feel like it's coalescing into something that has even more shape and looks even more. So soon it feels really promising that we'll have some sort of a sizable vertical slice of the game. If you don't know what a vertical slice is pretty much it's a sample of the game. It's like a fully functional level that has all of your gameplay stuff in it. So that can be an example and be shown to anyone what's the game like.
Like if you sliced into a cake and you saw the layers.
Exactly. The delicious, scrumptious layers of the cake and of this game.
If Space Pirates were a cake, what cake would it be?
Well, right now it's not done yet. So it's just flour and there's a pot of icing that seems delicious and eggs, cake mix, batter, butter.
Butter?
I don't know what else is there. If it's a carrot cake, there's carrots, I assume. Besides that, I don't know. I'm a poor cook. I'm a poor cake man. Sorry, people at home.
Curses and Chaos? Pound cake.
Pound cake? Because you're pounding those zombies in the face, those monsters in the face. So yeah, and for me, the game is it's really fun because, as you mentioned, Curses and Chaos was born a long time ago, and when I got to work at Tribute, most of Mercenary Kings, like halfway of Mercenary Kings was halfway. So it's the first time in a long time because I've worked at other companies in the past and on other games. But it's for the first time I really feel on the ground floor as a game is getting built, is being made. And it's a lot of fun. And what's been really exciting for me is that as a writer, I finally get to do some actual world building that shapes the universe that we're creating, hopefully the fun universe that we're creating for the game, and maybe influencing art design and art direction for the game. I'm not drawing anything, but I do get to think up of a character or of ideas for levels that are then put to our wonderful artists, and then they either trash it, which is fine, or they just make it better and they spin it in their own directions. It's funny as well because right now, because we're really making a vertical slice, like a more workable version of the game, I don't have to write all that much, so I have to think up of other stuff to do. So, but otherwise it's going well.
But I guess you've seen both sides of it, where you've worked on projects where a lot has been done already for you, and you're just doing a lot of brute work, like scripting and text. Mm-hmm. Now that and I think there's probably pros and cons to both things. In one, you don't have to think about so much of the world building, which is the more fun part of it. But if it's just raw footwork, you don't have to, you probably just get to produce a lot of work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's two things. For Mercenary Kings, there was a lot of stuff already established, but I was free to write whatever I wanted. So for me, what was interesting was that trying to connect the dots on the different things that were already in the game, and as well as trying to find connections and link stuff together and create a bit of backstory and really character for the NPCs and stuff. Because in Mercenary Kings, our main characters don't really have a personality, but the way every other enemies and the way the NPCs are drawn, they have they have much more personality. So creating dialogue for them and finding out who they are and stuff like that was really interesting to me, and that was a lot of fun. But for Space Pirate, like, I'm working with all of the other guys and we think up stuff, and we have basic ideas of, we want it to be pirate team, but in space, and you want it a bit spooky, and we want all that naval mythology stuff happening in there. So we have a bit of an idea, but it can go in so many ways that trying to find what's going to be the appropriate thing to have story and visuals and ideas to come out of that is trickier.
Like, I can imagine it would probably be maybe similar to, like, if you were writing for, like, an established franchise, like if you were writing for Batman as opposed to coming up with a new IP.
Yeah.
Like, they would both have a separate set of challenges, but there's probably advantages to working on something that's already been started too.
Well, sometimes I really envy people who get to do that, because I feel that so much work is done for you, but at the same time, if you are working on a Batman comic, there's been so many Batman adventures that you have to think up what's the next new Batman adventure, or what is different for a Batman adventure, because seems like it's been done.
Or, like, how do you reinvent the Joker?
Yes. You know what would be great? How to reinvent the Joker?
Grills?
Not as much grills, but have a lot of terrible tattoos. Have him covered in tattoos that the real Joker would go, what?
So you're not at all a fan of the Jared Leto Rockstar Joker?
I think his tattoos are really dumb. I think they look like someone that wants to be employed by the Joker would show the Joker, like, check out my tattoos, I love you. And the Joker would do something terrible to him. He would like scrape them off with blades or something and laugh about it. I feel like if the idea that the Joker has tattoos...
Hey, Jim Lee did it.
Jim Lee did it, but it was like a weird Yakuza thing, and that's pretty cheesy, but it makes the Joker sort of weirder and odder to add them.
Yeah.
The fact that the Joker has Joker tattoos on him...
It's a little too meta.
It's really dumb. And, you know, some of the ha-ha-has are taken straight from Arkham Asylum, and some of them from Killing Jokes. Like, they straight up copied lettering from some comics I can immediately, like, recognize, which I understand the idea. But again, I think it's super, super dumb. The fact that he has smiling mouths on his arms or in hands, like the Joker would not do that, because his best smile is the one that he's on his face when he's killing someone. Tattoos on the Joker? Yes. Having
those tattoos?
No. It's not my saying, but I saw someone else online say it's like someone in a band wearing their own band's t-shirt.
Right. Okay.
And it's sort of lame.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Also, I feel like, again, that'll be a short Joker update, because...
Oh no, this is the most, we're running with this.
Yes, this is, it'll come out on Monday, so it's still current. The thing about is, again, in this neighborhood, one person out of three has a sleeve, has tattoos.
Yep.
We see tattoos all the time. And on that Joker picture, I get the feel that we're supposed to think, like, isn't it crazy that this guy has tattoos? But I see people with tattoos every day. No. I don't care.
Yeah. Now, you know how, like, people probably actually got Heath Ledger Joker tattoos on them?
Yeah.
Do you think they'd get, like, a tattoo of that Joker with tattoos on?
I think they're tripling down on it. They're either counting on it, or they're thinking, let's simplify it so they have tattoos
already done, yeah.
To put on themselves, so then they can do the cosplaying easier. Maybe
exactly.
I had to say, though, the skull with the jester hat, which is so cheesy.
It's pretty juggalo.
That's straight up Dark Carnival. Shout out to the Dark Carnival, by the way. I hope the gathering is a great gathering for you this year. Be safe in Cave and Rock, please.
Yeah.
Have a liter of Faygo on us.
Fucking magnets.
Yeah. It's all great. I just think that, again, he looks like a Joker fanboy, not the actual Joker.
Right. Okay, well, see, that's...
The grills, though, I like, because, I mean, you've seen pictures of Ben Affleck as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
If he punches you in the face, that Batman is breaking your jaw and your teeth. So, the grill, maybe he's replacing bat-removed teeth.
He's had work done.
Yeah, he had to. You know what? If he says that he has smile tattoos on his arms is in case that Batman breaks all of his teeth, then I'm okay with it. I'm down with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm actually kind of okay with it. I mean, the point you brought up is pretty good. Like, it seems like a Joker fanboy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But all of this reminds me of a lot of the backlash from the first reveal of the Heath Ledger Joker, where people were like, and, it was all in the execution.
But to keep it in video games, do you remember like an unveiling of a new look of our character, a video game thing that people like, let's say in the spirit of Heath Ledger, that people
Sure.
were not sure or rebelled against, and once it came out, people were not down with it? Because I remember maybe it was like for Metroid Prime, people were not down with like first person.
Yeah, that's right. That was a bit too much of a change. And then when it finally did come out, people really did embrace it. So yeah, I think that's totally possible that in the same effect that, people are initially appalled by something and then they'll just...
I feel like I remember too that a lot of people were not down with Wind Waker Link cartoon look.
Oh, I think that was pretty split.
Yeah.
I think there was like people that absolutely loved it and people that hated it. And you know what? It's still that way. I think most people are pretty split with the look of that.
Yeah, because I think there was a demo of a more realistic teen adult Link, and some people went nuts for that. And when Waker Link came out, a lot of people were not down with it.
Yeah. So that's our Joker digression.
Yeah, and our Joker digression. So, but still, at first I really disliked it. Now I'm just indifferent. But at first I was like, I guess I'm really rooting for Batman to punch that dude now.
Sure.
More than ever.
But see, I think also, like, every interpretation of the Joker has been so unique. Like, you had, like, the gangster, Jack Nicholson. You had the anarchist Heath Ledger, and then you've got the full-on rock star.
Yeah, I don't think, again, you're saying, oh, he's like the rock star Joker and he has tattoos. I'm like, why not? But the fact that his tattoos, get it? I'm the Joker. There's ha ha ha. There's a skull with a jester hat.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no. I feel like it's trying too hard. Like, if he had like weirder tattoos, or, you know what? If he had Robins, but the bird,
right,
a bunch of dead Robins tattooed on him, I would think that's creepy and awesome, and maybe he killed a Robin in the past, or he wish he could kill Robin or stuff like that. Or maybe if he even had like a crazy Batman tattoo, it would be like,
ooh,
what
that's
the
kind of...
fuck is up? What is up with that? If it was something else, I would like it, but the ha-ha, I think is pretty silly. Jeez,
You're dehydrated after that.
Jeez, we had a couple of questions recently, so I suggest that we go into those.
Do it.
If you have questions for us in the future, you can send them to us by email, info@tributegames.com, or you can just send them to us on Twitter @tributegames. We have one from Randy Vandervlag, who is not unknown to us, Justin. He's an old friend and a studio mate of us, right?
Former schoolmate. Me, Mike, and Randy all went to school together.
Nice. So he's on Twitter @Randy Vandervlag. He's a great artist, so follow him up and see what he's up to. He doesn't tweet a lot, but he tweeted to us, which is great. He wants to know, like, what are the lesser known and obscure games that you have played and love?
Okay, I think just the first thing that comes to mind is something like God Hand and Piano 3. Both were made, let's see, one was made by Capcom, and the other one was made by former Capcom people that left to make Clover, which eventually became Platinum Studios. God Hand is just straight off the wall bonkers. It's a beat 'em up, but it's really, really, really quirky. I find like I always gravitate towards that stuff, like the black sheep of any series. It's really, really funky. Like, the moves are just over the top. Like you have this magical glowing hand and you just pummel enemies into submission. Then you like summon a baseball bat and then you knock them into the sky. Like it's not serious at all. And the fantasy setting is kind of good. But I think the other thing I liked is the game is really, really rough. Like I love a super AAA polish game, but this game is so just bare bones kind of thing. Like there's some very glaring sort of technical issues with it. Like your peripheral vision cuts off pretty quick. Like you'll see a building when you're facing it straight on, but at the minute it's more than like out of your peripheral, it completely disappears. So like you have whole large geometry structures just popping in and out of the scenery. And that's something that some people probably would complain about. Or like, when you walk to the edge of a world, but there's nothing blocking you and you just kind of like walk up to an invisible wall. There's a lot of that. But I find it's kind of refreshing to play a game that's so rough. If it's fun, it's nice to see like it's just sort of like the bare bones minimum. And the game itself is very experimental. So yeah, God Hand, that's my vote.
Yeah, and you mentioned Piano 3, and I think I remember for a while you were really looking for it high and low, right?
Yeah, it was harder to find. I think it had a pretty limited run because it was completely panned. Both games were, by the way. They were games that I think got like, 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 10. And they're both great. Like it's weird how sometimes you can just love something that's completely dismissed by the public at large. But both games have a pretty strong cult following. Piano 3, I think, was made by Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil fame. And it's just like this futuristic woman cyborg lady who runs through these robotic barren landscapes. And it has like a very cool like techno music theme. Both in the look and like kind of the music and the styling of it. It's just such a weird, funky, cool game. I love it big time. It has very old school appeal. Like you play for points and, it's very both, Piano 3 is a little bit harder than God Hand, but they're both, challenging things, which is something I always gravitate towards as well. So those are my 2 votes. How about you?
There's one game that I really like. I guess I really like because it's based on off a movie I really like, but it never came out here, which was Super Back to the Future 2 for the Super Nintendo, but it only came out in Japan. So the gameplay of it, it's pretty much a Sonic game, but it's Marty on the overboard. Marty McFly's on the overboard, and you're just like playing through the Future Hill Valley and Past Hill Valley and stuff like that. The sprite, there are super deformed sprites of Michael J. Fox, of Marty, Doc Brown, Lorraine, the DeLorean, Biff, everyone that is so well done and super cute. I've played it a lot. I don't think it's really good because already Sonic is already like a tough thing to pull off, and a Sonic clone even harder. But there's such a charm to that translation, to that adaptation. I really like it. And if nothing else, go check out the sprite sheet. Maybe you're better off just checking out the sprite sheet, but they're great. They're so cute and well done. Yeah, that's one of my big ones. Otherwise, I'm not that kind of player that goes really deep into and go plays like unheralded game. I'm pretty mainstreaming in the thing I'm playing. Like the most recent thing I'm playing right now is Shovel Knight. So I don't.
Oh yeah. How are you liking it?
I'm liking it a lot, but I'm realizing that my platforming muscles have atrophied. I'm having a tough time with it, but I really enjoy it. It's cool. It's really good. It's so I can't say anything that has already been said and done about this game. It's simplicity that it's perfectly implemented.
Did you get through a couple levels where you had the little bonfire cutscene?
Yeah, I finished the first level. The thing about the bubble and trying to catch her.
Yeah.
And you wake up from a dream. And the way it creates longing and wishing a dream was real. The way they were able to implement that in video game cutscene gameplay is amazing. It's so well done.
I think a while ago we were talking about like just storytelling in games and how you can do a lot even without a lot of text or none at all. I think that is a prime example of some amazing storytelling.
Ethan Cook at CookEthan88 asks, do you think local co-op is still relevant?
Wow. I guess he means like couch co-op?
I imagine so, yeah.
I think so. I mean, I hope so, because all of my more fun game experiences have always been playing with people.
I think that for you, outside of Monster Hunter, you don't really outside or online play or long distance play, really.
I generally don't, but you know what? That's a prime example. My fonder memories of playing Monster Hunter were when we played like Jonathan Kim, Mariel, and Paul, myself, just like the four of us in a room.
After all that time from being far apart, like when you all actually get together, that's an actual monster hunting.
Yeah, that was exactly. And with the one we're playing now, that's proving to be a harder challenge, is just getting people all synced up, because some people are in LA, some people Montreal, some people Australia. I mean, just to find a time zone that works for everybody online, it's proving to be like a huge challenge. And then, of course, you know, sometimes your connection gets dropped, so it's not very reliable. I also played Dark Souls 2. I played Dark Souls 1 just single, but then I played Dark Souls 2 online, just playing with faceless strangers. They could almost be NPCs, like CPU controlled. It's good. Like you probably couldn't not do any online, but yeah, between the two, I'd definitely pick couch co-op. So just from a personal point of view, I'd have to say yes, but
yeah, it's as relevant as you want to make it to be if you have a lot of people to play with, or if that's an habit you have. There is just something to me about local co-op and playing with other people. That's the best way to share video games, as far as I'm concerned.
I think maybe the one thing that probably needs to be addressed when designing things for like local co-op is the jump in, jump out mechanic of how like that works. I find like generally people, you know, have shorter attention spans and they want things like right away. They don't want to put up with, you know,
you can get in at next level and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like, oh, you have to wait your turn until we get to this point. So I think if you want to do like really good local co-op, it's probably just design it in a way that allows for people to jump in, jump out, and it doesn't really break the game in any meaningful way.
And we have a last question from Anthony Volunas at Moraduk. Asks us, tells us like that Mercenary Kings looks really cool, and they would love it to be on Xbox One. Any chance of it being ported there in the future? We would love it. We would love for it to go on Xbox One, but that doesn't seem too likely. The issue for that is that, as far as I know, Xbox One and Microsoft like their games to have exclusives and new stuff that is exclusive to the console. And Mercenary Kings, for us, we want to keep it as is. We were able to finance it through Kickstarter, and I feel like at the company, we don't want to create a version of Mercenary Kings that doesn't have stuff that people already played the game, and the people who already own the game should have the same stuff as everybody else. I mean, we don't want to create a version that has more stuff that previous buyers, even people who bid on it, who boosted us, could not get. So it's probably why it might not make it to Xbox One unless that changes.
We'll ask all our fans and see if they're cool with it.
Exactly. We'd have to ask people, but even then, I think we'd all feel a bit weird about that.
Yeah.
Unless they give us lots of money.
Yeah.
So much money.
How much money?
I don't know.
$4,000.
$4,000?
Can you dream?
It's the biggest amount I can think of.
I can't even count past.
We will wrap it up for this week. Justin, where can we find you on the internet?
Justin_Cyr, CYR.
Yes, not every day, but a couple of times a week you post like some art, some pixel art. Like you draw ladies' faces in pixel and you do grids like that.
Yeah, I've been doing just women's portrait studies in the MSX palette.
Yes. So that every morning, check that out. Not every morning, but quite often. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I like to try and do it once a week. So,
okay,
yeah.
You can check that out at Justin Cyr. You can find me at Yannick Belzil on Twitter. I don't tweet all that much in English, but you can talk to me and I'll answer, and I'll make an effort to tweet more in English. Generally, it's pretty much silly stuff, and that is pretty much it for us. As for this wonderful company, Tribute Games, you can find us at Tribute Games on the Twitter, and you can write us at info@tributegames.com. Our games that are currently available on the market are Mercenary Kings and Wizard. Please go buy them for all the different platforms. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for listening, and we'll make sure to talk at you really soon.
Bye, everybody.